Hi guys and welcome to La Verdad con Josie or The Truth with Josie. A lot of people being asking me to do the videos in English, so I'm gonna be translating. I'm gonna translate for you guys. And so today we're gonna be talking about the COVID-19 and coronavirus. Yes, the truth about COVID-19 and coronavirus. So let's get started. Well, the meaning of virus means, or borrow from the Latin virus means poison. Viruses, well, they are tiny particles of protein that are not living organisms. They are not living organisms. They are not living things. They are protein waste products in solvent solutions that act like soaps. That word soaps is very important. They can have animal tissue in them and we cannot transfer that. Listen to this, people, please. There's no evidence that microorganisms create diseases. There's none. Okay, no one knows what they really are. They've been studying for a long time what viruses are, but they actually don't know what they are. They have no nucleus. This is very important, so I'm gonna stress it very, very much. They have no nucleus. All viruses are actually good for us. In other words, they are actually good for us. Let's continue. Virus is another way to see them. A lot of doctors have been talking about this, and I was studying a lot of doctors throughout the whole quarantine and the whole pandemic. Now, at the point that I'm doing this video, it's actually the beginning of August, and so I have even more information than when I did this video in Spanish. And so, yeah, virus is another way to see them. Well, they're actually exosomes. They're doing a lot of studies that viruses are actually exosomes, which are excretions of toxin cells. Exosomes, well, they're not transmittable. Exosomes help with healing, yeah. And it's an antidote. I think I said it well. It's an antidote for the so-called virus or poison that we said from the very beginning. They have discovered them for over 50 years, and we're going to see that. So let's continue. And so, what induces these exosomes? Well, toxic substances, stress or fear, cancer, I never know how to say this, not even in Spanish. Ionizing radiation. There we go, radiation. Infection, injury, immune response, asthma, diseases, unspecified, there's many, huh? And electromagnetic radiation like 5G, and there's no research done on this, but listen, you people, 5G is gonna have a lot to do with it, and is actually doing, and I think it has a lot to do with it. But again, they're still doing a lot of researches, and I'm actually doing another video in Spanish, and eventually I'm gonna translate in English about 5G and coronavirus and what's going on with this virus. So let's continue. And so, what is the flu? Well, it is a solvent detox. It's a detox. Yes, viral. When we are super toxic, each cell makes a soap. Again, soap is a very important word. A solvent to flush toxins inside that cell. It is a cleaning cycle. It is a cleaning cycle. It can happen every 6 months, every 2 years, and so on. And it depends on the tissue and how contaminated it is. And what is a common cold, which is similar to a flu, but not really? Well, it's a bacterial detoxification. Microbes eat damaged tissue. It is like a general. Yeah, it's actually good for us because it's cleaning everything. We want colds, so the good colds, not the flu. The good colds are actually good for us. And here I made a list of what is a cold and a flu and the difference with one another. And actually, they're very similar in symptoms, with their signs and symptoms. They fever, aches, chills, fatigue, weakness, sneezing, chest discomfort, cough, stuffy nose, sore throat, headaches, and all this stuff again. Like you see in here, all the symptoms are very similar between the cold and the flu. And so our bodies can make about 300,000 types of viruses to protect cells from damage for specific areas of the body. And so people then always say, well, what about all these pandemics, that have happened? Like, for example, polio. Well, polio, the real name is poliomyelitis. I don't know if I'm saying it well. Myelitis is a spinal cord. So it's a neurological condition, not a virus. It is not a virus, people, please. It is a lesion in the spinal cord, and it was considered a seasonal illness in the summer. And we're going to see the reason why. And so what is it that happened? Well, the fact was that there was an invasion of what is called gypsy moths and others. And you guys can see that this thing looks like a little butterfly, but it's not. And so a few of these insects contain a toxin, and it can actually cause poisoning. These gypsy moths were coming from I don't know, it was from some other place in Europe or Asia. I don't know exactly from where they were coming from, and so there was an invasion of that. And then they were trying to kill them, by spraying lead. They were spraying lead and arsenic, which is dangerous poison and metals. They were spraying this all over, even in fruits and vegetables, to prevent the spread of these insects. And then these dangerous metals went inside the body, especially children. And another fact, back in the polio virus and pandemic, another fact is that the radio waves, or the radio, was also being introduced to humans for the first time in the 1920. So it is said that for those radio waves, those radio waves were causing some sort of illnesses and causing people to get sick because we were not used to it. And I'm actually, like I said, I don't know if I said it, but I'm reading a book, and I'm making another video about the invisible rainbow. That's the name of it. And the book is amazing, and it's talking a little bit more about what was really happening from the 1917 all the way to the 1920, what they call that pandemic, that it was actually killing a lot of people. And I'm gonna make a video about it, but let's continue, because oh my gosh, I have so much information. And I really don't want to take as much or as longer as I took with the Spanish one that I made. So let's continue a little quick. And then another question that I always get is, so it's like, okay, so what happened? What about the swine flu? That it was another pandemic. Well, same thing. It has been a fiction of the pharmaceutical industry to sell drugs. Solvents are not contagious, only if they're injected in the body, actually. With foreign tissues, we can even die once this is injected. They have made these in labs, which with different kinds of viruses and tissues. So yeah, that is the wine flu. It's just another made up story from these people. And so the fact was that before the Mexicans got the swine flu back in 2009, their government was giving free vaccines for everybody. Then they got sick. The flu, yeah, the flu was already in the vaccine. They found slime tissue in their bloodstream, kidney, and bladder. Okay, so what about the 1918 pandemic? And again, has been many pandemics throughout the human history, but we're going to talk about the ones more recent and the ones that we know the most. And again, the book that I'm reading about the invisible rainbow, it's been blowing my mind, because it really is talking specifically about what really happened in the time of this pandemic. And again, I'm going to make the video, and it's going to blow your mind, and it's going to make a lot of sense of all these things that we're seeing. But anyway, this was in the middle of the war, yes, and there were a lot of people with different health problems that were sick prior to the pandemic. There were multiple illness, and in different areas of the world were affected differently. soldiers were giving a large number of vaccines, which it can attribute to that. People were ill, but not from the flu. I mean, again, oh my gosh, this video that I'm making about the invisible rainbow and radio waves and electricity and all this stuff, it's again, it's gonna blow you guys your mind because it's amazing. And again, it has a lot to do with this. And again, there were also they were also giving a large amount of aspirins, and aspirins can be deadly. And I don't know if you guys know about that. Again, there's no specific proof that it was caused by a real virus. The investigations were never concluded. Radiation, listen to this, please remember this. Radiation from the radio waves. From the radio waves, it was the first time that the radio was invented, and so these, my people, had a lot to do with it. Yes. And now let's see a little history about vaccines, flus, and stuff. Well, Edward Jenner from England, born in 1749, considered the father of the vaccines. He scraped, this is what he was doing, unbelievable. He scraped pus from the lesions of a dairy maid and injected this pus into James Phipps, an 8-year-old boy with smallpox over the next 12 years. Yeah, he vaccinated him for the next 12 years, over a dozen times. Yes. Then this poor boy, James, died over the age of 20 of tuberculosis. And something that I find throughout this study that it actually just completely blew my mind is that the smallpox vaccine has been linked to tuberculosis. So that's very, very interesting. Let's continue. And so the first vaccines of smallpox were derived from pus and blood scraped from sores on cows and horses, then put on a lancet, scalpel, or needle, then jabbed into someone's arm. Oh my goodness, that's how it happened. Unbelievable. The fact is that most outbreaks of disease occur in vaccinated populations. Yes, my people. For example, in early 2010, there was an outbreak of mumps among more than 1,000 people in New York and New Jersey. What's interesting is that in Ocean County, New Jersey, county spokesman Leslie Turgeson told CNN that 77% of those who got mumps had already been vaccinated. Uh-huh. That's pretty interesting. And in 1967, the WHO declared Ghana to be measles free. But after 96% of the population was vaccinated, however, in 1972, Ghana experienced one of the worst measles outbreaks with its higher ever mortality rate. An article published in the March 1987 issue of the New England Journal of Medicine indicated that an outbreak of measles occurred in a 99% vaccinated school population in Corpus Christi, Texas. That's kind of like amazing, huh? Vaccines became mandatory in England in 1853 after massive epidemics began to occur between 1857 and 1859. There were over 14,000 deaths from smallpox. Between 1863 and 1865, there were over 20,000 deaths from smallpox. Between 1880 and 1872, 45,000 deaths from smallpox. 97% of the population were vaccinated. Unbelievable. Official British government documents from the early 1900s indicate that as more people were vaccinated against the smallpox, more people died. Unbelievable. And when Japan introduced compulsory the vaccine in 1972, then by 1892 there were over 165,000 cases with almost 30,000 deaths despite the vaccine program. However, in In the 1800s, when Australia banned the smallpox vaccine, miraculously the disease vanished. And you guys can see this article on this book where I got this information from. And you may say, Josie, but what does this has to do with COVID and Corona? Well, I mean, it does has a lot to do because of vaccines and the story that we've been told throughout all these years. And yes, everything is related. So let's continue because there's a lot more information. Please don't go nowhere. I know that we already got almost 15 minutes, but we got a lot of information. Let's go. Yeah, so let's fast forward to today's flu shots. The flu shot that it was supposed to prevent all these illnesses because if coronavirus is an influenza virus, flu, right? Well, how come it didn't prevent it? That's my question. If so many people were being, injected and vaccinated with the flu shot, why you didn't prevent it? That's the question. Well, according to the CDC, the majority of the flu shots contain thimerosal, same as much as 25 micrograms of mercury per dose. Yes, my people, this means that it may contain more than 250 times the Environmental Protection Agency safety limit of mercury. That's amazing. And in 51 studies involving 260,000 children published in the Coherent Database of Systematic Review in 2006, found no evidence that the flu vaccine is any more effective than a placebo in children between the ages of 6 months and 2 years. Same database reported the same thing for elderly living in nursing homes. The flu shots provided little or no effectiveness at preventing the flu. Amazing. And so, according to Hugh Vandenberg, MD, the world's leading immune geneticist, I hope I'm saying it well, and 13 most quoted biologist of our time, with nearly 850 papers in peer-reviewed journals, says the following. He says, if an individual has, please listen, if an individual has had 5 consecutive flu shots between the 1970 and 1980, the years that they study, his or hers have chances of getting, listen to this, Alzheimer's disease. So they are 10 times higher, yes, than if he or she had none, 2 or no shots. As I mentioned early, the flu shots contain 25 micrograms of mercury. 1 microgram is considered toxic. So please keep that in mind. Go, yes, how much mercury is really in a flu shot? Well, you guys got that in there, that little picture that I put, and then let's talk about the mercury, which is thimerosal, one of the most toxic substances known, my people. Even if a thermometer breaks, the building is clear and hazmat is core. Tiny doses can cause damage to the brain, gut, liver, bone marrow, nervous system, and or the kidneys. It's also linked to autoimmune disorders and neurological disorders like autism. That is, my people, the flu shot. And so we see here, what some of these shots and vaccines, the sicknesses that they can cause. It's amazing, like neurological disease, autism, cancer, asthma, leukemia, again, allergies, psoriasis, multiple sclerosis. And I'm going to make a little pause here, like the way I said it in the video in Spanish that I made. I remember when I vaccinated my daughter a while ago. She was healthy, pretty, beautiful daughter. But when I went to do the shot, what for the first time with the doctor. I remember that she started getting eczema. She started getting eczema. Yeah, she got eczema from this vaccine, and she's almost 20 now, and she still has eczema. She's a very, very healthy girl, but she still struggles with that. And again, it was definitely from the vaccine. At the beginning, I thought it was because I was a little bit stressed throughout the pregnancy and stuff like that. But no, no, no. It was actually because of the vaccine. Bad, just bad. And this one just completely blew my mind the first time I find out about it. And it's that these vaccines contain aborted babies. Yes, my people, I know that you're gonna hate me probably for saying this, but yes, 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 yes. There's a lot of proof. A lot of doctors have talked about it. I saw an interview with this with this specific doctor talking about that. Yeah, he was admitting that there are aborted babies, not on every vaccine, but in the majority of them. And again, if you guys want to find more information about this, is on the internet. I mean, a lot of the stuff they're trying to delete and ban so that way people don't know, but it's still out there. And if you look for it, you're gonna see it. And so yeah, that's right. These people also work hand in hand with um Planned Parenthood, yes, Planned Parenthood, a non-profit, tax-free organization with over 600 health clinics, and it partners with organizations on 12 countries. Planned Parenthood. And my people, this picture is a little bit blurry, but I mean, again, you guys can see this information online and in the internet and all that stuff. But yeah, the schedule of vaccines from birth to 18 years old. Yeah, our children are gonna be vaccinated with over 17 different vaccines and 72 doses by the time they finish high school. It's amazing. 72 doses. And do you know what's in a vaccine? Well, I mean, in this picture, you guys are gonna see a lot of ingredients that are very, very, very bad for us and that are known to cause a lot of illnesses and diseases like aluminum or mercury that we already talked a little bit about it, and some other ones like formaldehyde that we're gonna talk about right now in the next slide, and you guys are gonna see. So what they do in these vaccines, it's absolutely horrible. The truth is that doctors across the globe are admitting that vaccines are responsible for a whole host of ailments, diseases, and even deaths. In a shocking report at the Global Times reported that an expert from the Chinese CDC, Dr. Wang Yu, has reported that vaccines can cause severe adverse reactions, swollen organs, epilepsy, the diseases that they were supposed to prevent, and even death. Yes. This is crazy. The vaccine mythology is a medical fashion based on voodoo science and fraudulent data. Vaccines cause diseases, disability, and even death. Hygiene and sanitation. Okay, hygiene and sanitation, not vaccinations, have resulted in the decrease of nearly every infectious diseases over the past century. So now let's talk a little bit about coronavirus and COVID-19. Well, a little bit of history of coronaviruses. Human coronaviruses first characterized in the 1960s and are responsible for substantial proportion of upper respiratory tract infections. That's the definition that they say. And so this is very interesting because there are over 36 coronaviruses. Seven of them cause illnesses in humans, or illness, sorry, in human. Four of the seven are very common, like influenza virus. 85% is caused by something else. They are called influenza like illness. And according to the CDC, coronaviruses are named for the crown-like spikes on the surface. Like, for example, in Spanish, corona, it's corona, and it's the crown where, you crown your princess and your queen. And again, here we see, the commonly ones that are 2219, all this alpha, alpha, beta, beta. You guys can see it there. These four common human viruses cause 10 to 20% of the respiratory infections worldwide and are present on all continents. So that's very important to know. Most likely you have been exposed to it and perhaps ill from it. A coronavirus infection at some point in your life. Yeah, you probably had it at some point in your life. And you may actually have some level of natural immunity to this virus. So that's very interesting. Let's continue. But there's no scientifically proof. There's no proof, my people, that viruses actually spread or that they can, yeah, that they're contagious. There's no proof. There's absolutely no proof, my people. And I've been telling so many of my friends and family about it, and I know that it's hard to believe because we have been told. The opposite, but there was an experiment done in 1980 18 when again with the pandemic that I was talking about, where like more than 50 million people died. Yeah, they were conducting a lot of experiments because they didn't know what was going on. And again, I know the reason why it was because I've been reading this book that I've been telling you guys about, that it was because of the radiation and the radio waves and the radars that they were that people were being exposed for the first time. And so in this experiment with 100 patients, these 100 patients were tested in three different ways: mouth, saliva, touch, nose fluid, and the test was 300 times a failure. And then again, in another video, in this one that I'm going to make, I'm going to explain a little bit more about this. But yeah, in this experiment, no one got sick. They have the sick people and then the people that were completely healthy, and they did all these tests, with the fluid, with the saliva, with the touch, even being close like this. It was only like 2-3 inches close from each other like that. And they did it for like 2-3 minutes, and yeah, no one got sick. No one got sick. Yeah, from the ones that were ill and the ones that were healthy, the healthy ones didn't get sick. And the same thing was done with horses, and the horses didn't get sick. So that is very interesting. So my people, viruses actually do not spread. No, they don't. And this is an article that it has caught my attention from the very beginning of this pandemic and all this stuff. And it's the article that Dr. Anthony Fauci wrote in the New England journal. This is Journal of Medicine, where the doctors communicate in this website. And this was written on March 26, where he said that the mortality rate was less than 1%. Yes, my people, that's why he said. And I'm going to leave the article and the link below so that way you guys can read it, because again, this Fauci doctor has been changing his mind in so many different ways, that today he says one thing and then another day is another thing, and you don't know what to believe from him, because again, this is all a lie. COVID-19 does not cause coronavirus. It just doesn't. There's no proof. There's absolutely no proof. And there's no proof. Period. Let's continue before I get mad. And this is an important picture that I came across throughout the study, is that the actual picture of the virus is always going to look in black and white under a microscope. It's going to be right here on your right hand side on your screen. And then the one below is the picture they show on television and others. It's like purple with like little, like gold colors and very colorful and a little bit scary. Of course, because they want to create fear and make look that this virus is like very deadly and all that stuff. But it's always going to look black and white. The real virus under a microscope is always going to be black and white. And my people, let's talk about the mask. Oh my goodness. Well, the mask, this blue mask, blue and white masks that we all have to put on in order for us to go to work, which I hate very, very much. Well, it covers up to only 1 million of a meter of the virus. If the virus was contagious, okay, it will cover only 1 million of a meter. And the virus is actually, listen to this, the actual virus is up to 1 billion of a meter. So the mask does not protect. The mask does not protect. So you're wasting your time putting it on. Not just wasting your time, but we're going to see on the next slide what this does to our bodies. Well, yeah, like I said, the problems that cause, yeah, problems about wearing this mask decreases the flow of oxygen. Yeah, it turns into carbon dioxide. Yes, it turns into carbon dioxide. And of course, the oxygen is essential to the brain, driving the cortisol hormone level off, increasing the fight or flight response, causing the immune system to get low. And this creates stress to the body. Okay, it recycles the oxygen so it can make your and so it can make you acidic, which is very bad for us, especially for the people that have problems with stomach, like with their colon and stuff, right? It is made out of fiber glass. You are going to be breathing that, and that can cause you lung disease. It is bad for asthmatic people. It is like putting a fence for mosquitoes. It just doesn't work. And let's just talk a little bit about what happened in Italy, that it was one of the places where the virus and the whole thing was very deadly and bad. Well, in this article in the World, it's like a newspaper there. You guys can see it here on March 18. This person said, well, more than 99% of Italy's coronavirus fatalities were people who suffer from previous medical conditions, according to a study by the country's national health authority. After deaths from the virus reached more than 2,500 with an 100% increase in the past week, health authorities have been combining through data to provide clues to help combat the spread of the disease. But they found that these people had other illnesses like kidney failure, cancer, and heart failure. So, yeah, they were blaming the COVID and all these people that actually had other illnesses. The problem is that these people that died in Italy, they were cremated, and so unfortunately, they won't be able to do an autopsy to to do more research about it because they're ashes right now. So that's just very bad. And this one is very important because a lot of people go like, but Josie, what about all these people that have died from COVID? Well, yeah, what about the death certificates? I'm going to talk about this doctor. Her name is Annie Bacchus. Said she was exposing disinformation of what was being said in the death certificates, and she was being banned and deleted from Facebook and all the social media because she was one of the first doctors that come out talking about all this stuff and the fakeness of this their certificates. And so let's see what she actually said about that. And this is what she said. Even if you test positive for COVID-19 does not mean you have the disease, people. This is so amazing. Doctors often do not know with certainty the cause of the death. Autopsies are not always done on dead people, and even if they are not always clear. Physicians made their best guesstimating by filling out the forms, and they list the cause of death, whatever they list, and enter it into a vital records, which is a data, back to use it in statistical analysis. When they give out unaccurate numbers, then those numbers become accepted as fact information, even if it's false. That's very important. When it comes to COVID-19, then there's the additional date squires that there's no universal definition of COVID-19 death. The CDC counts truth COVID-19 cases with speculative cases. Death by COVID-19. It's unbelievable. 60% of people died in hospital, but even those in hospitals, the cause of death is not always clear, especially someone with multiple health conditions. Same as people that died in an ambulance because the patient died before the incident can be evaluated. 20% of people die at home, and it's the same thing. Another 20% in nursing homes, and it's the same thing. Most people in those hospitals are required to be tested. That's the problem, that they're required to be tested. And those who test positive from COVID-19 have mild or no symptoms. Therefore, testing for COVID-19 does not mean the person is sick with it or that it died from it. Just please listen to it and wake up, because I'm going crazy. The assumption can be made without testing. Yes, they can just assume it without testing the person, which is unbelievable. So it can be just based on assumption alone. The results are preliminary and have not been confirmed. The CDC website said dying from COVID-19 is not the same as dying from COVID-19. And here's a perfect example that she gave. If a sick person goes on a respiratory arrest at home, he is intubated to help him breathe and is taken to the hospital by ambulance, then put on a ventilator in the ICU, put on antibiotics, then given IV fluids for blood pressure. A bacteria is found. Pneumonia on the chest is found. Then the person dies after 2 days. Well, the patient was found to be COVID-19 positive, and the doctor, listen to this, has the option of listing it on the death certificate that is COVID-19 and is the immediate cause of death. Then the doctor theorizes that the COVID-19 contributed to the cause of death. Either way, that's how it goes into the data bank as COVID-19. That's pretty crazy. So that's how they count the so-called dead people from so-called COVID. That's how it works. And here's a few samples, that I grabbed from Dr. Annie's Facebook page that I'm pretty much sure she's already deleted, where people were saying that their family member died from a different thing, but that they were pronounced dead by COVID-19. For example, Ashley here said that her grandma had suffered from 12 years of Alzheimer, and that they say that it was COVID-19. And she says, "Shame on you." And then I had another nurse over here for 20 years where it's saying the same thing. I had 3 deaths the week due to bronchitis and pneumonia, and the next morning when I came in, I saw that the certificates changed to corona. So he says, how messed up is that? And again, there's so many articles and comments and people that I've seen on Twitter, on Facebook, on social media, even people that I know personally from work and some of my clients and stuff, that they have said the same thing. That I actually have a patient that a client of mine, that she said that the grandmother was going to sue the hospital because she couldn't believe that she was asked that, and but then yet she goes like, no, the family member obviously died. I think it was, I don't know exactly what it was, but they were going to sue the hospital, and they ended up not doing it because it was going to be a lot of work and a lot of paperwork and a lot of craziness, and they didn't want to waste their time, but they were going to sue the hospital because they were asked to put COVID-19 in the death certificate of their family member that died of something else. Unbelievable. And so what's another reason why? Well, I mean, show me the cashy. Yes, cash, money. Of course, the money is always going to be involved in this crazy pandemic and stuff that they made up. Well, states like Minnesota, Nebraska, and Montana, which the pandemic has touched readily, lightly, very, not much, are getting more than 300,000 per COVID-19 case. And it's on the 30 billion according to Case and Health News Analysis. You guys can see this if you guys want to go search it. And again, in New York, 12,000 per case. In Florida, it's getting 132,000 per case. And so just do your math. Do your math and calculate, because these people are just making money and more money. And now let's talk about the so-called test. The famous test. Well, the test is a PCR test. It does not measure any virus. It measures only genetic material that is supposed to represent the virus. It is not made from an RNA, not a virus. And this is very important. It is not compared to a global standard test where they separate the virus and purify it. This is very, very important. So the test is not reliable and it is problematic. A positive test doesn't really mean that you have COVID-19. For example, if you have a pneumonia, it can test positive, not a virus. It can be caused by something else. There's a false positive rate of 80%, my people. 4 out of 5 times they have a positive test of people that actually don't have the illness. But the consequences are these, which is the messed up part, that they can report you to the health agency and they have a policy power to remove you from family and they can isolate you, so it's not worth it. And I did saw another video from the people I follow, and it was this couple, a young couple on I think late 20s, where she supposedly got test positive and she went home and she was like, nah, I cannot have it. She was just like, okay, no, I'm just gonna go home and cure myself and drink some soup and blah blah blah. And then they knock on the door, yeah, because they already knew that she was in that database system. And you know what they did to both her and the husband? They put an ankle, one of those ankle braces that is like the ones that they put you when you're in house arrest and all that stuff. Yeah, they put the ankle bracelet underneath like if they were criminals. Yes, they went knocking in their house and they did that to them. I couldn't believe my eyes and I saw that report. Of course, you guys are not going to see this in mainstream media because they don't talk about it on mainstream media because they just don't. All right, my people, just stay with me. We're about to finish. We're close to the end, but please bear with me because it's just so much information. But back in March 31st, I just wanted to put this that it was the President Trump. And again, I'm not for Republicans, left, right, Democrats. No, I'm not for none of them. But I saw where this President Trump in the White House in Washington, D.C. was opening the test from the Abbott's lab, and the Abbott's rapid test can produce false negative under certain conditions, the company says. That's straight from the company, right there in your eyes. And this is when I was finishing my video and the Spanish version of it, I saw this one by the end of it, where this was in March 20, 2020, from the CDC, that they were saying that this is not thought to be the main way virus spread, but we are still learning about the virus. And in the article says that the coronavirus does not spread easily on surfaces. And this was said after they kept us locked down for 3 months. After they said to people to wash their hands 20 times a day, and that to not touch anything, and creating people's fear and all that stuff. Then they said in this article that the virus does not spread easily on surfaces. So they don't know what is going on because simply viruses do not spread, but they're just trying to find a way to create fear and to make this happen when it just doesn't spread. There's no proof, my people. There's just no proof. This is a hoax, period. So what is this pandemic about? Please stay with me because it's gonna get even more interesting. Well, it's about depopulation. Yes, depopulations because they believe that we are overpopulated. So let's continue. And this is the Georgia Guidestones that I wanted to bring you guys so that way it makes sense to you guys, because a lot of stuff I know that it doesn't make sense for us, but for them it does. And when I say them, it's the elitists and all these people that are above us when it comes to money and stuff like that. Well, financially, I guess, maybe not spiritually, but this is the way they think. And so that's just the way it is. Well, in the Georgia Guidestones, that are a granite a monument erected in the 1880s in Elbert County, Georgia, in the United States, a set of 10 guidelines. The 10 guidelines that they have, that is like their 10 commandments. Yeah, it is like the 10 commandments, and it's inscribed on the structure in 8 modern languages. It's actually in 8 languages, and a shorter message is inscribed at the top of the structure in 4 Asian languages, script by a man. This was by a man called Robert C. Christian, and it says, let's maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. That's what they think about. So that's why they think that we're overpopulated, and we're gonna continue looking at the reason why. So let's go ahead and continue. People, please stay with me. Depopulation, yes, yes, they have been working on this forever. For example, I'm gonna show you guys here the Illuminati card game, and please don't think that this is some conspiracy stuff that I'm making, because it is not about that. And if you wanna think so, well, I mean, what can I do? But the proof is right there. I mean, if you don't wanna believe it, it's because you're blind. Just put one thing. Just put everything together and you're going to see that it makes sense. All the stuff makes sense. So anyway, in this Illuminati card game that it was created by Steve Jackson's back in 1982, okay, he has predicted on this card game a list of things that has actually happened, like 9/11. Yes, you guys can see here what it says, terrorist nuke. Coincidence? Well, I don't think so. This Illuminati card game was done again 20 something years before 9/11. So how did he know? And look at the picture. Look at the way he actually draw it. It looks exactly like the 9/11. That was 20 something years before. But anyway, and the Pentagon and all that stuff. And then here it says population reduction. And then on your right hand side it says epidemic quarantine. And we see there the mask, we see the vaccine, we see like some hand sanitizer and alcohol. And again, the card is exactly, it says exactly what we're going through right now. So this stuff is no coincidence, people. It's just not. The elite, well, they believe in the population big time. So here we see the so-called elites that love us so much. Like, for example, David Rockefeller, he says something about the impact of population. You guys can read it, so I don't want to extend myself so much like the way I did in the Spanish one, but again, it's just too much information. But again, you guys can see here the way they think. We see Kissinger in here thinking about the same thing about the population. And again, you can find all this stuff in the internet if you really want to search for it. And Bill Gates. Bill Gates is another one that loves us very much. Yeah, Bill and Melinda, they love us so much. Oh my gosh, poor people. Well, this is what Bill Gates said in a in a thing that he had. It was like a conference. I don't know how long it was that he was talking about this experiments and things that they were doing with vaccines and people and the population and blah blah blah. And this is what he said when, that day that he was talking about this. He said that the world has 6.8 billion people at that time. Now it's like 7.5. And he says that the world has 6.8 billion people, that is headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that perhaps 10 to 15%. Yeah, that's what he says. That is his mentality. So now, please, you guys, put two and two together about corona and vaccines and everything that's going on, and believe me, it is going to make sense unless you don't have eyes to see. Some other things I want to talk about, like for example, heart disease, that is the leading cause of death in the USA. That out of the sudden nobody's dying out of the heart disease. No, 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 no. Now everything is COVID, 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 COVID. But anyway, one person dies every 37 seconds, which I think that it is more now because of the stress and everything that's going on. It's gonna be probably now every 30 seconds in the United States from cardiovascular disease. Yes, my people, about 647,000 Americans die from heart disease each year. I think it's a little bit more. That's one in every four deaths. Heart disease costs the United States about $219 billion each year. That was from 214 and 215. So it's way more right now, my people. So, the coronas as we speak, let me do a little pause. The coronas as we speak hasn't even have 160,000 people, okay? And so here we see that heart disease in a year, only in America, only in America, heart disease can kill more than 647,000 people. This is unbelievable. So they got us locked down and pandemic and blah, blah, blah. When this is actually killing even more people every 37 seconds, maybe less. And now let's talk about cancer, which is the second cause of death in the United States. And I'm talking only about the United States, not even globally or other countries. Well, chemo, yeah, they make $200 billion a year, more than 600,000 patients a year, over 1,000 a day. 1.3 million are misdiagnosed. 80% of medication is unnecessary. Oncology doctors make $10,000 per injection and yeah, administer for chemo. 75% of their income is made by selling drugs. The autopsy of patients with cancer says that they die from the toxicity of the chemo or radiation. Nitrogen mustard gas used in chemo skirts the tumor, but it does not cures it. That's why it has that tendency to come back. 91% of oncologists won't do chemo on themselves. Think about that. Let's talk about abortion. Remember when I talk about those aborted fetus that are in the vaccines? Well, this is the reason why and how they come about that. Well, $150 million a year. Yeah, that's why they make 390,000 a performing year, which has got to be more now with everything that's going on. 27,000 a month, 6,000 a week. Planned Parenthood is the nation's largest abortion chain. It's financially backed by the U.S. government, receiving 46% of its annual budget, almost 500 million per year from taxpayer dollars. The funding at the CDC, yeah, their funding, they get more than $1 billion a year. I just wanted to show you guys that. And so the agenda is also that they want the whole entire planet vaccinated so they can track us. And in here I have ID 2020 Alliance. I also made another video in Spanish of Gavi, which is the name of one of the largest, if not one of the biggest or the only company worldwide that they are in charge of. The vaccines and all that stuff. But yes, I mean, there's articles in here that I posted, and again, you guys can see on the internet. So please do your researches. Please do your research. So here's again the ID 2020 Alliance, where they say that we need to get digital ID right now. Yeah. And so they want well, they say that 1.1 billion people worldwide live without a digital ID. So they need to have everybody to have an, uh, an ID that is digital anyway. And here we see all these companies again, like Gabi that I was talking to you guys about, and of course the Rockefellers and Microsoft, of course, which is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that they're on absolutely everything. So the ID 2020 Alliance is a really big thing. And in here, I wanted to show you just a little picture of one of the vaccines that are being in process because I think that they already have it done. But it's also looking like this is very like microscopic. It's the way it looks on our microscopic, so it's really big, but it's actually very little. And then this is a team in Massachusetts Institute of Technology that may be providing a solution. They've developed a safe ink to be embedded into the skin alongside the vaccine, only visible under a special light provided by a smartphone camera app. Is an inconspicuous way to document the patient's vaccination history directly into their skin and low risk enough to massively simplify the process of maintaining medical records for vaccines. So this is one of the ways they have on those vaccines that they're supposedly experimenting on, but I think this is already done. So it will be something like this. What was another reason why? Well, another reason why all this drama and all this craziness is crash of the economy. Yeah, crash of the economy and digital dollar. Again, you guys can see all these articles online if you guys want to search. Let's continue so we can finish this. Found on The Economist magazine was founded in London in 1843 by the company The Economist Group. Part of the founders are known as the Rothschild, and it caught my attention because look at this. I mean, it's a little dog with the face mask, and then the guys with the face mask, and then a hand like pretending that it's God, but it's not actually God. It's Dan saying everything is under control because that's how they want to have us. They want to have us controlled. And again, my people, this is something that caught my attention. Then again, it's been all over social media. I mean, and all these truthers that it's Event 201. Yeah, Event 201 was a global pandemic exercise, and this was done on October 1819 in New York, where they exercised the areas that public-private partnerships. I mean, and again, this was all done back in October, and it was supposedly an exercise that they did about this whole pandemic, and it was exactly what happened months after. That we know in March, where March or the end of February when everything started. And oh my gosh, my people, is exactly the way it looks in the exercise is exactly the way everything happened after that. So please look into Event 201. It lasts around 7 to 8 minutes, but it's very interesting and you guys gotta see it. And another interesting thing that I wanted to bring, and you guys might say, but Josie, what does that have to do? Well, I mean, the Simpsons have predicted a lot of stuff also, including 9/11 and all that stuff, like the Illuminati card. And so I wanted to bring this even if you guys believe it or not, and if you think that it's a coincidence, well, I don't think so. But The Simpsons, why do they know about it? Yeah, there's an episode where you can see that it says coronavirus, and the little girl is saying about, yeah, let's do a pandemic where we make believe that, yeah, that people are dying. This isn't that. You guys gotta search it. If anything, I'll leave the link below so that way you guys can see it. But it's very interesting, and it looks exactly of the things that are going on right now. Coincidence? I don't think so. And like I said, the same way they predicted 9/11 back in 1997 under episode 9, episode 1, among other things. And that will be for another presentation, but it's very obvious here that you guys see that it says New York 9, the dollar 9, and 11, the towers. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. And a lot of people will be like, oh my gosh, what is it that she's seeing? But she's a conspiracy theorist. Anyway, for me, this is very clear. So, same way they predicted 9/11, they kind of like predict the coronavirus. But let's continue. Let's just finish this. And the final agenda that they have is for a new world orders. Yes, all this stuff is related to this, as is has been said for a long time now that presidents, government, and the elite around the planet, around the whole planet, they have one thing in mind, and it's for a new world order. The New World Order, where an emerging clandestine totalitarian world government, the secret power elite with globalist agenda is to eventually rule the world. Yes, my people, believe it or not. Yes, 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 that's their agenda. Even if you don't want to believe it. Through a authoritarian world government, that it will be one currency, one religion, and one government. 1111. An interesting point of view. The annual death rate of a regular flu globally is about 250,000 to 650 to 650,000 people a year globally. So you will need three times more people to say that this is not a normal flu. In another words, almost or more than 2 million people. And as of today, after the so-called pandemic, that this PowerPoint was finished, there has been supposedly, because we already see the death certificates, supposedly 706,000 people. The numbers do not make any sense. So in order for them to call it a pandemic, it hasn't actually matched the numbers that are supposed to be matched. And so a little bit of fresh air over here, no? So what to do then? Well, let's look at the importance of the immune system. The importance of the immune system, well, 70 to 80% resides in the intestine, yes, and is in charge of cleaning over the bodies from toxicity, pesticides, GMOs, industrial contamination, heavy metals in water, air pollution indoor and outdoor, chemicals in cleaning and personal hygiene products, synthetic plastic, and many, many more. So let's take care of the immune system. It's important. About the vitamin C, well, about the vitamin C is very, very important for the immune system because it's a potent antioxidant and it fights the free radicals, which can fight this respiratory illness, the ones that we talk about. So it definitely gonna help out with the flu and influenza virus. And also, I was looking at some articles that, of course, the zinc, but I think we all know that. I mean, when you have a flu and a common cold and all that stuff, certain amount of zinc it's important, but for that it has to be recommended by a doctor because if you exceed the amount of zinc, it can be you can get diarrhea from it. So it's a certain amount of milligrams of zinc. So that has to be you got to be very careful with that. But vitamin C, ascorbic acid, it is great. Let's do vitamin C. So, in a healthy immune system, no illness can live. And this is besides all this 5G network and all this radiation that I want to make the video about. Besides all that, because I don't want to confuse you guys. But yeah, if your immune system is healthy, well, I mean, it's we are less, probable to get all these illnesses. So, have a healthy diet, have plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables. Try to stay away from dairy products, as delicious as it is, the cheese and all that stuff. If you do it like the way I do it just once in a while and not so often, not every day. Try to stay away from meat is the same thing I do. I try not to eat meat every day, and so that way our bodies can like rest from all this type of food. Follow an alkaline diet that I have the video in Spanish. I'm going to try to translate that as well in English so that way you guys can see it because it's very interesting. Stay away from acid food. That's also very important. What else we can do? Well, take plenty of fresh air. Yes, instead of putting that mask on that I already told you that it doesn't even help. Breathe, my people. We gotta breathe that fresh air because we need that oxygen in our brain, and we need the oxygen for our blood also. Take plenty of sun, which is free vitamin D. These three vitamins are also very important. Vitamin A, E, and C that I already talked, like the ascorbic acid. Take also some trace minerals, like for example, I have another video about the sea moss. The sea moss has 92 minerals from the 102 that our body needs, and so that is very important to take the minerals as well. Walk, exercise 20 to 30 minutes a day at least, or 3 times a week, or at least 3 times a week. Have no fear and pray a lot. And be positive. Just stay positive, my people. Be positive and have no fear. And this is a final thought. If you're buying a story, who are you buying it from and why? So thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. I know that it was a little bit long, but again, there's so much information that I wanted to cover. And yes, I hope that you guys learned a lot the way I did through all this whole process. Again, this channel is mainly in Spanish, but I'm gonna be translating all these videos for you guys that have asked me. Again, I hope that you enjoyed, and thank you so much for staying with me all the way to the end. Thank you so much for watching. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. So I'll see you guys in the next La Verdad con Josie, The Truth with Josie. Thank you so much. God bless. Bye.